Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be talking about the 5 knives that I've carried more than any other knife in my collection over the last couple of months. I do these videos often because I get my hands on tons and tons and tons of stuff. I add to my collection all the time, and my carry preferences kind of stay the same, but they also kind of evolve, and I like to update people on what I'm carrying, why I'm carrying it, right? So I'm going to be going over those today. I'm also going to be linking the knives that you can actually acquire right down in the description so that you can pick them up or check them out if you want to. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you subscribe, that'd be awesome too. So, starting off here, this is actually an honorable mention. This is a knife that I acquired very recently, so it's not actually on the top 5 list, but it's been in my pocket almost every single day since I got it. Now, this is a very, very expensive knife, and the price of this knife is not indicative of what's going to be on the rest of the list, right? If you're new to my channel, don't be put off by this. This is a Rockstead Higo 2, and it is a $1,500 knife. Holy crap, that's expensive. Who would ever pay that much for a folding knife? Lots of people, actually. I mean, a lot less people than who buy less expensive knives, right? But if you didn't know that knives get this expensive, they absolutely do. This is a convex ground mirror polished ZDP 189 blade with a 0 edge, and it absolutely has superior cutting performance to almost anything on the market. Seriously, you should check out the test videos if you don't know anything about Rockstead. Check it out because the edge retention is absolutely ridiculous on this thing. We've got carbon fiber that kind of looks like wood. It's interesting how it's kind of, been carved out to look like a piece of wood, right? Or the different angles right here. And then the carbon fiber itself, of course, kind of has that wood grain look. Then it's shadow boxed by some anodized titanium liners, steel lock bar insert, runs on giant phosphor bronze washers. Incredible. The amount of handwork that goes into polishing the blade alone is insane. Now, is this knife for everybody? Absolutely not. Does everybody need a $1,500 pocket knife to complete daily or simple tasks or both? No, absolutely not. This was an enthusiast purchase. This knife was absolutely meant to be safe cleaned or not used, but for whatever reason, as I mentioned in the unboxing, I just really wanted to carry it, so I have been. It hasn't seen any extensive battle damage, and that's generally the case with most of my knives. They're not really going to get into it too much, but I have enjoyed using this, and the edge has stayed absolutely perfect. Gone through a little bit of cardboard. That's about the most workout it's had so far, but this is going to be a regular carry knife. I have no idea why, right? There are knives that are way less expensive in my collection that I don't use at all, so why this one? I don't really know. You can check it out if you want. My thoughts on this are, despite being somebody who purchased it and owns it, it feels a little overpriced. It's definitely, not like by $1,000. I mean, I can kind of understand how they got to about the $1,200 territory, but $1,500, it's hard considering the Higo 2 titanium frame lock, which is the same thing, except it's all titanium in a frame lock, is $250 less. So, it's kind of ridiculous, but if you're in this territory, you're probably kind of, you might have kind of a ridiculous air about you anyway, right? So that's kind of how I ended up with this. It's really cool and I love it, and it's absolutely flawless. It's just kind of high on the price tag. Expect to see this one higher on the list the next time, or expect to see it actually make the list the next time we do the video. Moving on here to number 5. Believe it or not, the Para 3, my most carried knife of all time, has actually sunk down to the number 5 spot. It did not get a lot of carry time in the last couple of months, but I still absolutely love it. And it's probably always going to be close, even if periodically it doesn't make the list. This knife still just randomly ends up in my pocket. I did have to tighten the pivot a little bit for the first time. You can see that this knife is no stranger to use, and a lot of this extra stuff is really just adhesive. The patina really hasn't changed all that much, but for the very first time I actually had to tighten the pivot, which is crazy. This is a Spyderco Para 3 G10, and this one's in Maximate, so this is the more expensive variant, or one of the more expensive variants you're going to see out there. There are still a fair amount of Para 3 variants out there. It's a little bit scarce right now, especially stuff for, like American Spydercos in general are a little scarce. I'll still link them all. There's the lightweight version. I think there are some G10 ones floating around here or there, maybe not. But I'll link them all down below so you guys can check them out if you want to. This guy, now that I've had to tighten the pivot a little bit, is going to need to break in a little bit before it's back to what it was, but that's fine. Still centers up, still locking up. I just noticed it was finally, whoops. I just noticed it was finally wanting to wiggle a little bit after, what has it been? 2 years? I honestly can't remember. Something like that. It's crazy. Moving on here to number 4. Newer acquisition. A lot of you guys are going to say, you just unboxed that. That unboxing that I recently did for my Spyderco Para that's been chopped by at Blade Shops. He shortens up larger knives, and this is a perfect example of why this works really well. So check him out on Instagram. It's a great service, honestly. But that unboxing that I filmed was actually 3 weeks old. So I've had this guy for a while, and it has absolutely made it in my pocket. This thing is smooth. The other thing I like about this, now I like the original Para, right? I'll link the original Para down below because you're going to need one if you want him to chop it. And honestly, in its original size, I recommend it anyway. It's not like it's bad in its true form, right? That's the nice thing. You have the choice to do this or not do this. The Para is a great knife either way. The reason I like this is because it ended up being just about the same size as my Spyderco Para 3 with some of the same ergonomic lines. But I get to enjoy some extra things like the red backspacer, the contoured carbon fiber, which in this case is actually carbon fiber and not peel ply, which is what the Spyderco Taichung, Taiwan manufacturing plant normally uses. I like the full carbon fiber. The ergonomics on this thing are excellent. It's also a little bit more narrow, so it does not have that big, tall hump, which truthfully doesn't really bother me, but it's kind of nice. It's just like a nice, slim carry, and it's super smooth. I love the blade. I love Sheepsfoot and Wharncliffe blades for EDC. They've just been fantastic. I love that it's literally just got 2 screws now because he shortened it up, and then he added this deep carry clip, which is okay. I wish it was a little bit shorter, but it's all right. This has been a fantastic EDC knife. I've got a little bit of oil poking out here. If you're wondering what kind of oil I use, I need to add a link for this, but it's 10 weight nano oil, and it'll absolutely, if you take your knives apart and add it to the bearings, the washers, whatever, the detent ball, it'll absolutely make the action smoother. I can't say it's always going to be false shut, but in my experience, it has absolutely made action on knives way better. I wish the blade was tumbled, but it's not. This is S30V. It's going to cost you a lot of money to buy a Para and then send it off to have it chopped, but oh my gosh, this is such a good EDC knife. This is fantastic. I love this. Moving on here to number 3. That's going to be my Hinderer Eclipse. This was a Southern Edges exclusive, I think. I'm so sorry if I messed that up. I will link Hinderer knives and parts and accessories and all that stuff down below. If you're trying to get your hands on a Hinderer knife, right, whether you are aware of the current situation or you're not aware, right, if you're not aware, you're thinking, I can't find those anywhere. Yeah, they're like sold out everywhere. Your best bet is to go down here where I've got the retailers listed, GP Knives, Blade HQ, DLT, River's Edge Cutlery, and sign up for notifications for Hinderer knives or notifications in general, and or the newsletter for the retailer so that you can get your hands on these things when they drop. Because when they drop, they're generally gone fairly quickly. There's no way to tell exactly what's coming next. Sometimes they do the Eclipse, sometimes they do the XM18 3.5 inch or the 24, the 3 inch, the Jurassic, whatever, right? They do them in a wide variety of different blade shapes. Each drop is a specific blade shape, and then they have maybe a couple of different finishes, maybe a black wash, right? Something like that. If you're lucky, you might find DLC. And they go quick. These knives run $425 at base. The more, dressed up variants can sometimes cost a little bit more. I always go with stonewashed. That's inexpensive finish. That's kind of a basic finish, and I like how it looks the best anyway. I added a micarta scale, which for this guy added an additional $100 to the price, which is yikes, right? But I just love this thing. I love the Eclipse profile. I think the ergonomics are better than the XM18 3.5 inch, despite me liking the XM18 3.5 inch a little bit more. For what reason, I don't know. It's probably because I locked in early on the 3.5 inch model. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Flipper tab's not quite as aggressive. Ergonomic lines are a little bit better. This is the smoothest Hinderer I've... All of my Gen 6, or I'm sorry, this isn't a Gen 6 because it is a Eclipse. So it is a Gen 3 Eclipse, but it is a tri-way Eclipse, meaning it's the newest variant. For whatever reason, this guy is ridiculously, it is so perfectly smooth. It is absolutely fall shut, but in that nice controlled way. This is so perfect. I don't know what it is about this one. All of my hinders are smooth. They're all acceptable, right? But this guy's just crazy. Love the Bowie blade shape on the Eclipse. Not so much on the 3.5-inch XM18 for whatever reason, but this guy was purchased to carry, and that's what I've been doing with it. It hasn't seen a lot of battle or anything like that. Like I said, my knives don't get that much of a workout. It's pretty much just opening packages and little things like that here and there. But CPM 20 CV, all US made. This is my favorite US company and still my favorite company to date. Hinderer knives are doing an excellent job, and they have just so much more to bring to the table. I think if you're not paying attention to Hinderer knives, you absolutely should be, especially if you value home country manufacturing and you live in the United States, right? That is absolutely, this is a company to be paying attention to because they've got some amazing stuff that's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I enjoy carrying this guy. It's a little more shallow than some of my other knives, but whatever. Moving on here, another American big boy. I'm sure you guys can guess. Another knife that's going to frustrate everybody because it's hard to get. The Demco AD20 G10. This is the knife that I thought everybody was going to vote for me to give away when I hit 50,000 subscribers. So I went ahead and bought it. And then the knife that actually caught it and passed it in votes was the Sebenza 31. So I had to buy this and a Sebenza 31, and then I gave away the 31. People have been asking me almost daily if I will sell this thing. I'm sorry to break your hearts, guys, but no, I'm not going to sell this thing. This is something that once I realized that I wasn't going to be giving it away, I thought I might as well keep it because these things are going to be hard to get. Again, if you're trying to get your hands on an 8020, this is a Demco MG 8020 in G10. This one has the slotted blade, and it is a clip point. There are non-slotted blades. There are shark's foot blades sometimes. There's even a shorter one coming out, right? If you want to get your hands on this, because it's got the super cool ambidextrous lock. This thing is awesome. This lock, by the way, Andrew Demco, for people who don't know, that's the guy who invented the triad lock. So if you're about to type up, it can't be stronger than the triad lock, stop. It's actually expected to be exactly the same strength, if not stronger than the triad lock. I believe those are Demco's words right through himself, right? The difference is that this is way, way, way easier to manipulate than the triad lock. I still like cold steel variant knives and Andrew Demco variant knives that are utilizing the triad lock. It is unquestionably strong. In my opinion, probably overkill, but that's fine. This is just way easier to use. Now, this is running on bearings. I've heard rumors that they can accept phosphor bronze, or they might be doing some with phosphor bronze. I've been carrying this thing and have no problem with the bearings. In fact, I have no problem with any of this. If I want to carry a tank, this is what I carry. This is absolutely a thicker blade stock than my XM18. 180 thousandths versus 165 thousandths, and it is a little bit thicker, not crazy. These G10 or Grivery, there's a Grivery variant that's $100 less. These are thicker than the titanium variants for whatever reason. But yeah, CPM 20 CV, all American made, another American company you guys should absolutely have your eyes on if you value that kind of stuff. I love carrying this thing. It brings me joy every single day. I just don't choose it all the time because it is so big. Sometimes it's just not the appropriate knife to carry for me. Moving on here to number one. Absolutely by a landslide. And I mean like every other day. I mean, up until the Rockstead came into the picture, this knife has been in my pocket exactly like I assumed that it would. This is the smaller Demco AD20.5. These are the ones that are made in Taiwan. They are absolutely less expensive. They're using AUS 10A. Now, these are just as scarce right now as the actual AD20s, and they are going for a ridiculous price on eBay. Do not go to eBay and buy these. There's a coming soon listing on Blade HQ. I would imagine every retailer that you love to use will probably be getting their hands on a batch of these. They run $150. Do not overpay for these things on eBay. Just wait until they drop at retailers. Now, this is the Grivery or the injection mold plastic or whatever you want to call this, right? And then AUS 10A. AUS 10A for 150. AUS 10A is just fine, right? And we've all talked about the reasoning for the price. It's been discussed into the ground. Demco Knives is not a large company. They cannot pump stuff out like Cold Steel. They have their own costs, which are different than Cold Steel, right? That's why this thing costs a little bit more. And honestly, I really don't have a problem with the materials at this price point. It's a little bit high, but it's not like, oh my gosh, my life is ending. I better go on every corner of the internet and complain about it high, right? The Shark's Foot blade is incredible. I love this blade. It's perfect for EDC. As you can see, it's absolutely gotten a workout. I have not cleaned this blade off. It's incredibly smooth. The action, honestly, other than the shark lock being a little bit more narrow, in fact, quite a bit more narrow than the big guy. Here, I'll let you guys take a look real quick. And this way, right? This side. And this side. It's absolutely smaller, right? But that makes it more preferable in some situations. I also like the, not just the thinness, but the overall length is also a little more preferable sometimes. This knife has remained centered. I have actually taken it apart just to take a look at the internals, put it back together. It's been fine. Nothing weird. It was easy to do. It carries a little bit more shallow than I'd like it to, but again, it's not a world-ending thing. The steel is held up just fine. I haven't really even had to oil it. Like I said, I haven't even really cleaned it. This is such a perfect EDC knife. That Shark's Foot blade in particular is nice because the nose points down and it's nice to be able to do your draw cuts or get into packages or whatever. The edge is thin enough. Not a laser beam, right? But how many of us actually need laser beams for regular EDC work, right? I mean, if every day you're like, I'm a toilet paper shaver, I'm a wax paper shaver, I'm a grape shaver, right? If that's your occupation, well, all right. You must really like Opinel, right? But for everybody else on the planet, this is fine. And it's nice and fidgety, incredibly fidgety, right? Thumb stud opener, all that. You can do the Spidey drop, whatever you want to do, or you can just sit here and do this until your significant other absolutely loses it. This is excellent. I know they're hard to hunt down right now, but they are extremely recommendable. I wish that this list consisted of knives that were more readily available, right? If I did that, probably more people would use my link and it would generate more revenue for the channel, but I can't sit here and lie to you guys and tell you I haven't been carrying these knives, right? This is the stuff that I've been carrying. So I'll link the listings down below where you can go and sign up for notifications, but that's the best that I can do. This is legitimately what I have been carrying. I like doing these. It's fun to update people. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I'll line all these guys back up in the order that I listed them. But yeah, just to get a good idea of what my actual rotation kind of looks like right now. My rotation generally consists of about 5 to 8 knives, which is why I generally have more or less honorable mentions here or there. But this is kind of what it looks like right now. It's kind of all over the place and it's kind of not. So I don't know. This is where my taste is sitting right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that metal complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.